Hi, I'm Nick, and today I'm going to be talking with you about character development or building believable characters in a story. The first thing I'd like to talk about are just some questions that a writer should consider when developing their believable characters. I'm just going to list them out. What sort of planning is involved in creating a character? What sort of methods can be used to help with planning? How can a writer effectively help the reader visualize the character? How and what methods can a writer use to reveal character traits? How can a writer avoid repetition when describing the character? Again, these are just a few questions for a writer to consider when developing their characters. Okay, next I would like to just share with you some suggestions that authors have come up with to help them plan to develop their characters. Um, for example, John Ames, he says that the idea is to have the characters, so clearly fleshed out before you begin that you know intuitively how they would react in any situation. O'Neill Danu, he says, sometimes I cut out pictures from magazines in order to better visualize my characters. So that's just one of his ways to help him get a better picture of what his character is going to look like. Another, Hank Searles, he claims that the author should know the characters better than himself. Um, Next, these are the same authors, and all they're doing is they're just giving methods that they use to help plan and to record character traits or information about their characters in order for them to build onto their characters. This just kind of helps them remember who they are and get to know their characters. Um, for example, Danu, he suggests a brief biography, and some things that he listed in his biographies would be like physical description or psychology, the character's mannerisms, their background information, internal and external motivations. Searles, he suggests to keep a file. His file contains things like the date of birth of the character or their education, maybe their family history, their eye color, and their age. Ames, he suggests a notebook that contains the character traits, such as likes and dislikes, maybe what he likes to eat, his foods or his hobbies, what music he likes to listen to, his overwhelming passions, like maybe it's religion or family. Hopefully I won't butcher this. A fatal beta nore, it's what the character must overcome to grow. Maybe disaster or weakness, maybe his downfall. Also his style. What does the character look like? His appearance. Maybe he's on a diet. Also, the character's characteristics of a potential partner. This just shows you the different side of the character. The next thing I'd like to talk to you about are names. Names are important because they can depict setting, social class, family background, etc. A name should fit the story that they're in. Some examples of great story names are like Bilbo Baggins, he was a hobbit. Gandalf the Grey was a wizard in the Lord of the Rings series. Harry Potter, he was a wizard. Another great name would be Sherlock Holmes, he was a detective. Each of these names are unique, attractive, and match their character role. Um, they knew he said that the name either sounds right for the character or not. The next thing I'd like to talk about are what is a character trait, and then I'd just like to give an example of what of effectively using descriptive words to describe character traits about a certain character. Character traits are details that tell the reader about a character. For example, Gandalf was shorter in stature than the other two, but his long white hair, his sweeping silver beard, and his broad shoulders made him look like some wise king of ancient legend. In his aged face under great snowy brows, his eyes were set like coals that could suddenly burst into fire. So, you see, this is just an example that uses effective descriptive words to describe Gandalf and his character traits. Next, I'd like to share with you two ways that you can reveal character traits in a story. The first way is to reveal character traits through another character's eyes. Two processes of characterization are occurring. The reader is getting to know the character being described, and also the character doing the describing. Another way to reveal character traits is through telling the reader or showing the reader. Telling the reader involves the author telling the reader what opinions to form about the character. Showing the reader requires that the author demonstrate who the character is and their traits through their actions, interactions, and relationships with other characters. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is a writer must avoid repetition. And when telling the reader about a character, it is important not to use the same descriptive words. This causes the story to sound repetitive. Here are some descriptive words to describe physical and personality traits, which can help avoid repetition. Here are some examples of physical descriptive words. Head shapes, you could say bullet-headed, egg-shaped, gibbous, low forehead. For body types, you could say athletic, delicate, petite, rugged. Shoulders, you could say bony or round, square, drooping. For voice, you could say bass, childlike, cultured, tobacco roughened. These are some examples of descriptive words to describe personality. For a nervous or shy personality, you say wishy-washy, insecure, apologetic. For a domineering, overbearing personality, you could say loud or bossy, stubborn, glaring. For an eccentric personality, you say weird, nonconforming, insane, individualistic. For devious, cunning, or conniving, or evil personality, you could say a character is two-faced, or sneaky, corrupt, fraudulent, venomous, or plotting. And again, these are just different words that you can use to describe certain character traits about a character. So again, I'm Nick, and I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson about building believable characters. Thank you.